How's it going, guys? And welcome to the showdown between Norsca, led by Wulfric the Wanderer, and the High Elves, who are going to be led by the Ever Queen. And it looks like she's also been joined by a couple sisters. I think in total he does have 3 sisters of Averlorn. So definitely going to be some heavy firepower. So for my army in the front line, I do have a very heavy core of the Marauder champions with great weapons. And I'm kind of on the fence about these guys. On one coin, I think they're pretty good against High Elves because High Elves do have a fair amount of armor in the front line. They have the White Lions, they have Swordmasters of Hoth, they have Phoenix Guard, and these guys will trade reasonably well with all of those troops, especially considering their the Rage mechanic, which, if you guys haven't seen, gives leadership, physical resist, melee attack over the course of a prolonged engagement. So definitely some cool stuff. But I also think that the sword and shield variant might be a little bit better. I mean, their melee defense is like in the 50s. Their weapon strength is relatively the same, just with lower AP. And I don't know, the shields, of course, I feel like would be really good in this matchup. And so many High Elf players, even though you think they have an armored front line, most High Elf players I run into on ladder, especially higher level players, are going to just be using Spearmen. They just use a ton of Spearmen with the new Scions right here, who do give that ward save to all nearby troops, which is really, really good, about 12%, while the mana is about 50%. And then they just use a bunch of missiles or heavy cav or things like that. So these standard Marauder champions would definitely be a lot better against Spearmen because their defensive stats would just allow them to endure and eventually push through. Whereas these guys can take a lot of damage from missiles. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. So for any of you guys who have been playing this matchup, I'd love to hear your opinions. But I do have 3 groups of Marauder champions. I also have an Angry Werewolf here, Skinwolf Werekin. I thought he might be pretty good, but then I remembered that the sisters actually do fire damage. So I was like, oh no. But aside from that, if they bring a dragon, if they bring heavy cav, he does have anti-large, he has AP. Could be a solid pick. Again, it really depends if your opponent is effective with the missile play of their sisters. Wulfric the Wanderer with the shield, also very good. Can't really get away with bringing Throg, in my opinion, simply because he's weak to fire and he's such a big target. And Seafang is really good against High Elves, who usually have kind of a straight line formations like this. 2 groups of Marauders on the outskirts of my formation to just kind of pressure missiles or absorb missile fire, go around the flanks. Famir Balefin with Shadows, which has Pendulum, Melkoth, as well as Enfeebling Foe. And in the back, we have some fluffy wolves. So we have Maws of Savagery, we also have Norscan Ice Wolves. So these guys are also weak to fire, so I need to be very careful to avoid those 3 sisters that my opponent has. Over here we have some Norscan Ice Hounds. It looks like we do have some more Marauder Spearmen on the far sides to help against cav charges, Reavers, that kind of stuff, and Norscan Warhounds over on the far side. For my opponent, like we said, he does have the Scions of Mathlon here, which are the ROR of Spearmen, and pretty much his entire front line is just Spearmen, which, can hold reasonably well against my composition. If I had, like, Berserkers or something like that, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about bringing Berserkers against High Elf missile play, but again, with sisters, like, they're more meant for nuking like heavy armored targets, so I don't know how good they would be against Berserkers, but anyways, need to experiment a little bit more. Sister of Averlorn here, 3 groups of those really good against, monsters, and a lot of stuff on the Norscan roster is weak to fire, so these are a really good pick for my opponent. Alariel the Radiant with Earthblood and the Heart of Averlorn. It looks like that's pretty much it, actually. What other spells? No other spells. Interesting. And the Fireborn. Now, I actually think this is a matchup in which the Fireborn might be really good. Fire damage, anti-large, they can melt Skinwolves, they can melt a lot of the leadership, including Throg. I really do like this pick a lot for my opponent. And I didn't bring Lore of Death, so, Fate of Buna would have just been to crush these guys. Even though it did get nerfed, it's still really powerful. But, considering I brought Shadows, that's a really, really strong pick. So without further ado, guys, let's get this battle underway. So my opponent's forces are going to be kind of maneuvering over here. It looks like they might take some sort of a high ground position. I think they might just caddy up against like the forest in the back of the map here, but we'll find out here in just a moment. Got my hounds coming around, the Norscan Warhounds, and then the other fluff hounds. I think these are just regular Warhounds, so nothing special. They're going to be coming up and around the back as well. The key to success this game for me is going to be shutting down those sisters, because as you guys saw, I have so many darn units that are weak to fire that if he's able to get his firing lines online, on some of my high value targets like my Skin Wolves and things like that, we could be in some serious trouble. So we'll fast forward a little bit as we posture up, and you can see my opponent chooses to kind of deploy in this general area. There is some room around the back of his army, so I was happy that he wasn't like right up against the edge. And yeah, the Hound should be able to slip in, but you can see his Fireborn are going to be coming over here and chasing my Hounds, which are infantry size, but still the Fireborn are Dragon Princes still, so they'll definitely be able to wreck those Hounds pretty badly. My other Hound's hiding in the forest looking for an opportunity, and right now I noticed that he was a little bit occupied chasing me over here, so it's like, you know what, I wonder if I can get in there and get a sneaky Wulfric boat, a little hot Sunfang action. So Wulfric is trying his best to not ride into trees in the forest, but looks like that's going to be his calling. This game. So right here I do send in the Hounds. So I sent in the Hounds kind of as a distraction card effect. So I was like, I'm going to send the Hounds in. He's going to adjust his spears, but he's probably not going to pay attention here. So I do get a really good boat right down the sisters here, and you can see the angry Norscan pirates are just going to ride right down their ranks, and they don't kill a lot of the models, it doesn't look like. They start with 60, so it only took out 2, unfortunately, but it did a ton of HP damage and also cruises into that second group. So an amazing Seafang, able to chunk, that group to half health basically and take out, about 10-15% off the other one. In the meantime, my forces are going to be lining up on the hill. I didn't want to charge like straight uphill, so I wanted to pull a little bit Obi-Wan Kenobi action and take the high ground here, and then from there to start to move in. I did pull my hounds back, and he did overchase a little bit, but he didn't get that far away, so he should be able to pull back in here and get some pretty good charges on me if he is ready to party. He also drops an Earthblood here, which is going to be incredibly effective because he didn't lose really any models, so this healing is going to be huge. So it really kind of negates my my boat there, my angry pirate boat, but we'll see what happens. So I do have my spears kind of heading in this general direction to fend off the Fireborn. I didn't want them to get a free charge on my Marauders over here, which would have been really, really bad. And my Maws of Savagery, as well as the Norsca Ice Wolves. The Maws, of course, do have pretty good AP, so I'm hoping to get that engagement. My Hounds are positioning in the back, but of course he has spears everywhere, a very tight kind of a reminiscent of like old style of Dawi, and now that they have AP missiles, they can actually get away with this pretty well. So right now he's just raining fire on my Marauder champions with great weapons, and this is kind of when I started thinking like, man, I really wish I had shields on these guys, but they're getting domed pretty hard, but they should be able to win against Spearmen, although the Spearmen get the downhill charge, and they're pretty beat up already, so we're gonna see. So the Marauders collide, you can see a couple of these Spearmen getting clubbed on the initial impact. Marauder champions have a really big charge bonus, I think of like 30. And over here, the formations are charging. You can see the Sisters of Avalorn are going to be raining some hot fire down here on my Skin Wolves. So realizing that would just be a massacre, I decided to pull back over the hill and just kind of delay a little bit. But in doing that, it kind of opens up his Fireborn for a free charge. Right now, I'm going to try and get a Pendulum, if I'm not mistaken, but he reacts very, very well. I should have angled it downward, but still very well played by my opponent there. That was some solid micro, and I also do get a Melkoth on the Fireborn, which is good. It looks like the Sisters of Avalorn do overextend because I think they're trying to shoot the Maws of Savagery, so they accidentally get into melee a little bit. But this is, the tough situation. So I have my Skinwolf Eric in here. He is weak to fire. So all these Sisters of Avalorn can shoot him with relative impunity from the high ground here, especially since I can't really get around the back too well. And we're going to probably be taking a lot of damage here. You can see the fire damage coming in, the Fireborn also coming down the hill. And look at that one volley from those guys just melting my Skinwolf. And then the Fireborn dude just charged down the hill, and this is going to be a massacre. Because, I just have a couple beat up Marauders here. He has like a full formation of just like Lord of the Rings style, Lord of the Rings charge going on. And it's going to be tough, but Wulfric is going to hold strong. The Fireborn coming in, you can see Alariel coming in, but I do charge in my Ice Wolves to slow them down, and the Maws of Savagery will be following up, of course. So in the meantime, I do get another good Sunfang, not Sunfang, what is that? What is that called? That's going to just bother me for the rest of this game if I can't figure out what that thing is called again. It's been a while. I used to know what it was called, but anyways, we'll get it in a minute. I get an Angry Pirate Boat. We'll call it that for now. A really good Star of Alariel, or Radiant Star. All these abilities, I got to remember them. But anyways, he gets a really good star right here, which is able to kind of heal up these troops, and you can see my Maws of Savagery. Though they may trade okay with these guys, and I get an enfeebling foe, and you can see they're taking a lot of damage still. The Overwatch fire from those Sisters of Avalorn is just absolutely devastating. So right now, we're in a bit of trouble. You can see the Wolves are getting toppled by those arrows, but thankfully, I do win this engagement over here. My Marauder champions with great weapons crush them, and I'm going to be pulling them in. And also, I managed to squeeze my Hounds through the back. So now you can see the Norscan Hounds are all up in the ranks of these guys. It's really going to shut down that fire temporarily. You can see they're in guard mode, I'm pretty sure, so they're still going to fire a little bit. And he does send the Pyramid Company back, but yeah, a very, very close fight right now. The bounce power is a little bit in his favor, but my infantry fight is going well. We were able to kind of crush this flank over here, get some spearmen on the Sisters here. My Hounds are on his Sisters here, and right up here I do also, I tried to get a Pendulum, but very well played by my opponent. He was able to dodge that. And you can see he's starting to pull ahead in the bounce a little bit, largely due to this engagement. I really liked his play with Alariel using the Star of Avalorn, that's what it's called, as well as the Earthblood ability to keep those Fireborn topped off basically. But I have a strong little pocket here. You can see that I was about to call him Warwick. Wulfric the Wanderer here is doing a pretty good job kind of pinning Alariel. Marauder champions will trade pretty good with like heavy armored cav. Although Dragon Princes, as far as like heavy cav go, are some of the best at sustained combat. I mean, their stats are just off the chain. Although I believe they have lost their martial mastery for now. So Wulfric does a ton of damage against Alariel. I'm able to get some free hits. My opponent, realizing this, is going to be pulling back, but for the most part, we have compromised his back line. You can see the Marauders have bum rushed through. They're attacking some spearmen. The Sisters of Avalorn are being forced to retreat, and basically are just in direct combat with these Marauders, which they're very powerful in melee, but still, this is not where they want to be. These Sisters are very beat up. Another Sea Fang's going to be coming down, just riding dirty through those Sisters, but I did misaim it a little bit, and unfortunately didn't get a ton of value. So at this point, he's just kind of cycle charging around with his Fireborn, who did take a lot of damage, and he's actually forced to retreat. So my Marauder champions and Wulfric the Wanderer and company are putting up a pretty good fight against the Pyramid Company, which are an interesting unit. I mean, they worked well there because they were with Alariel, and really, she might have died without them, actually, because they gave her that Guardian, and Wulfric almost killed her. So in this situation, I think they worked out pretty well. My opponent had a very tight, boxy formation, very dwarvish style, and I think in situations like that, units like the Pyramid Company and the Signs of Mathlon are going to be incredibly good. So Wolfric's charging through. He does have some of his fluffy pets here who are going to be... Well, they're not really fluffy, actually. They're going to be feasting on the Sisters of Avalorn, but again, there's so many supporting troops. The Scions are probably giving that ward save to all these nearby troops. The Fireborn are also getting some really good charges on my Marauders. So even though I did kind of break into the box, I wasn't able to really burn down the Sisters. They're very durable with 50 melee defense, and I got very compromising charges with Hounds, but honestly, they're pretty darn strong and can probably beat up Hounds. And you can see that Wolfric the Wanderer is surrounded by, the Fireborn here, as well as Alariel, so he's definitely not long for this world with 223 HP left. And also a nice Star of Avalorn going down. Aha, this is my time to strike. Wolfric, is he still alive? Oh no, he died right when I wanted to look at that ability, but yeah, I'll have to go look at. Is it Seafang? Is it Seafang? I feel like it might be. Anyways, so very well played by my opponent. He was able to kind of hold that high ground there, really play a defensive style of play with just spearmen, and yeah, the Sisters of Avalorn did a really good job. I was expecting some armored infantry in that style of play, so the champions, on paper, would have been good there, but against this type of a build, they were not at all. I really think just going with the Marauder champions with the shields, going wider with infantry, cut the spearmen, they were honestly kind of useless. Just get a bunch of regular Marauders, cut the Skinwolf Werekin, cut the Maws of Savagery, just get the Miststalkers and Famir with great weapons, and I think that would have been the direction to go. I think we would have been able to run over the front line, and because the battle was still close, but he was able to net so much value. He just killed my Skinwolf Werekin, which is a 1400 gold unit. He melted my Maws of Savagery. Famir do have missile resist, and they would have stood up much longer to that, and I could have been much wider had I cut these and just got some more Marauders, maybe even some Berserkers or something, and some standard champions. So I really liked my opponent's build. It was cool, definitely fun. I like that new style, high elf style of play where they can just do these very defensive formations using the Sisters of Avalorn and their new missiles. It's quite a bit of fun to watch for sure. So very well played to my opponent, Varrock Sarfang. I think that's a World of Warcraft thing, isn't it? Or Warcraft? No, it's not Warcraft 3. I know Sarfang is someone from that. But anyways, very well played to my opponent. Look forward to running into again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Norsca versus High Elf showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.